Jason Chapman.
Jeremy Sheppard, how you doing?
It's not just Jason, it's all the Chapmans.
Yeah, guess what? We got all of us here, and we have an important question to ask you.
Sure.
Will you be on our podcast?
Do I have to be?
Well, you don't have to
Could
be.
say no, but we'd be very disappointed.
Yeah, I'd be a little bit bummed, but I would probably deny it if I were you.
Listen, I will take every chance to talk to you guys I can.
All right.
We'll see after the podcast.
Yeah, we'll hold you to that.
I need an exit interview scheduled after this.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Take me away, 'cause I can be the link. Let somebody while letting go and I can have my way.
So here we are, podcast number...
736.
Wow, I didn't know we did that many.
I'm just projecting.
We must have thrown away a few episodes in between there. Anyway, we're back for another podcast. The Acoustic Shoppe Knows People. We're going to know somebody today. Who are we knowing, John?
We're going to be talking to our good buddy, the guitar hunter, Jeremy Sheppard.
Were you going to say something? Freaking
Guys,
weirdo.
hi guys, how's it going?
It's good.
I appreciate you coming for this
Wonderful.
meeting.
Why?
Wanted to talk to you
Why
guys.
do you ask? You never cared
We just don't
before.
get to see you guys very often.
I've seen you.
Yeah.
I see so much of you. I go home at night and try to do the
Crying game.
Not the crying game, but pretty close to it. I sit there with my legs. Forget what I just saw all day.
It's called meditation, John?
Meditation. That's what I want. Medication too. I take a lot of medication on top of this.
I see Jeremy in my dreams.
That's really weird.
Speaking of seeing Jeremy in their dreams, are you talking about me or our next guest?
Our next guest?
Our guest on this podcast?
Before we get into that, how are you, Jeremy?
Thank you, guys. I've been waiting for somebody to ask me that.
Good.
Now you ask me, I'm not sure.
Really?
Existentially. How do you feel?
Well, in the overall scheme of things, I think things are going all right.
Yeah. That's good.
I got a stressful life, a stressful family, and then stressful job. And
What is this stressful family you speak of?
Oh, just kids, man. That'll wear you out.
For a second there, I thought he was talking about me.
Oh,
You're
he was.
extended.
Kids are stressful, but
They're
just
fun.
look at them.
I just went through my phone the other day and we were finding like old videos from 4 years ago. They were so cute back then. I wish they would have
and
stayed
it's
that
sad.
way, and now they're cute in a different way, I
just
guess.
not.
Yeah, they're growing up.
Even they're watching it. They're going, I was so cute. I miss being that way. I said, we told you to stay, and you wouldn't.
We miss it too. No, we got problems at the house right now. Benny's been picking up the other babies and dropping them on other toys. So now Peyton's got a big old knot on her head because he got dropped on a big block.
Just want to be like the big brothers.
Yeah,
and
it's dangerous now.
toughen
What are
up.
you gonna do?
She's going to have to get tough with
Exactly.
4 brothers.
Yeah, she'll be. I said she's gonna get you back. Anyway, Jeremy Sheppard, the guitar hunter, our friend on the YouTubes.
Yeah, this is our first YouTube friend.
Yeah, it was.
It is. So
I
Appreciate
reached
you,
out to
friend
you.
Lucy.
I reached out to him a year or so ago. Said, you like guitars, I like guitars, let's be buddies. And it happened. Now, he flew out here. He hung out for almost a week. It was a good 3 or 4 or 5 days.
And then we saw him at IBMA
We hunted guitars.
later
We
in the year.
bagged our limit, and he went home.
And he had to buy an out-of-state tag, too, which is
did.
really
Those are expensive.
They are very expensive. I don't know if you guys are aware, but
hunting jokes. Huh?
Johnny Morris. Anyway, no, Jeremy Sheppard's a great guy. Does share a passion for guitar acoustic
Acquisition?
guitars, guitar acquisitions, but guitars in general. We found that, and then we hung out with him again not long after that at the IBMA award or IBMA World
Show,
of Bluegrass. He was getting a cool perspective, an outsider perspective on bluegrass, I think, which was pretty cool.
I recently watched one of his episodes, which was really cool, where he talked about his kind of evolvement from his guitar playing world. Like he talks a lot about how he started more in the pop rock stuff that was kind of going around in the late
love
90s,
pop rocks.
or I guess it would have been more the 2000s. Pop rocks, yeah. And then sort of has kind of become an acoustic, more acoustic aficionado, and that has kind of led him to his world and love of more bluegrass and folk and Americana music, which is really kind of, again, it's a cool thing to watch people as they evolve as musicians. I personally, I know you guys have too, started out more as, the hardcore traditional bluegrass world, and slowly spread our wings and kind of branched out into other genres and that kind of stuff. So it's cool to have him joining us at IBMA to kind of even get a bigger, dose of that.
whatever that is. Anyway, we're excited to have him on the podcast. He like we said, we know him, so we're going to talk to him.
And we don't have to learn any new names.
Yeah, Jeremy Sheppard.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by Jeremy Sheppard, the guitar hunter. I like how I said guitar.
I
The
like that
guitar
too.
hunter.
Jeremy all of a sudden became from the Netherlands. I don't know what happened
Guitar.
right there. This is going to be an issue, by the way, for this entire podcast. We have two Jeremys in one. Who is going to know who is who?
You guys never use my name anyway. You use some other names that we can't use on the podcast. So if you hear Jeremy, it's directed at the Mr. Sheppard.
All right, I'll go with that. I also like that he went with the Mr. Sheppard. Is that common to be referred to as Mr. Sheppard?
No, I don't get that very often.
You prefer Mr. Hunter or...
I've had many nicknames along the way, so it's funny. Like, very few people say Jeremy. It's always like Guitar Hunter, or like people that know me from growing up. It's like Jimmy Sheep, or I can tell where someone knows me from by what nickname they call me.
Can we stop right now and let's discuss Jimmy Sheep? I just want to know. I want to
I have
know
a high
where
school friend
anybody
there.
ever came up with a Jimmy Sheep.
Oh, have I told you this story?
No, I'm ready for it though.
Okay, so Jimmy Sheep. I had two nicknames growing up. Both were embarrassing and unfortunate. One was Jimmy Fathead.
Which is now officially your official
changing the
name
contact in my phone.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was Jimmy Fathead and Jeremy Sheep Turd. And there was middle school. It was rough on everybody.
Yeah.
But I was getting on a bus one day and somebody was trying to make fun of me and like, "What's up, Jimmy Sheep?" And it just stuck. And, much better than like Fat Sheep Turd, the other combo.
There are worse alternatives.
So, yeah. So there's like a whole, like, there are lots of people in my hometown that only know me as Jimmy. Yeah. So I don't know.
So I guess we're going to go right to the tough questions. Is it just Jeremy, or are you a Jeremiah?
No, I'm Jeremy.
I'm
So the story
Jeremiah.
goes, so I have two middle names. The story goes, my parents couldn't agree on our middle names, on our first name, and they each wanted a middle name. And then at the end, they just said, like, all right, Jeremy was going to be the middle name, but it's now his first name, and then the two names they couldn't decide on. So it's Jeremy Robert Ryan Sheppard.
Well, I was going to take a shot in the dark and say Jim Bob.
Jeremy Jim Bob.
I mean, I'm from Shenandoah, so fair.
There are a few Jim Bobs there. Well, that story about Jimmy Sheep or Shithead or
Hey,
whatever it was reminds me of why
Cut it.
I'm happy because we were homeschooled. And I got called those names by my brothers, which is I don't know if it's worse or better.
Well, let's straighten that out.
Classmates
because
can be so cruel.
That's not necessarily true. Jason is 6 years younger than me. I was in public school until my freshman year. I finished my freshman year of high school. Jeremy would have been the 8th grade?
I finished.
No, it's 7th grade.
I was middle school. I got
Something
to
like that.
Yeah.
Nobody really cares. And then
Seventh grade.
and
I was
Jason
3rd or 4th grade. And
Yeah.
I peaked. I always tell everybody I peaked in the 5th grade.
He graduated.
I had a girlfriend. I had the best friends. I was kind of the muscle on the playground.
That's not
I was,
true.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
First kissed on the playground at
Oh
5
my
years old.
God, what a weird.
Wow.
I went down
Still,
from hill.
you know how these guys are football stars in high school and they relive that their entire life? That's Jason's ended his elementary with the kiss on the playground.
I'm telling you, I peaked with the girls at 5 and went downhill from there.
Anyway,
Your
after
wife probably
that,
didn't like hearing that.
after that, we ended up we were touring so much, we ended up doing a homeschool
Correspondence
Okay, yeah.
school.
correspondence deal, and that's where.
But Jason did have some mean classmates. I'll give him that.
They gave me the full experience.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
Nuggies.
because it is really interesting because you guys, you were homeschooled, but for probably a very different reason than most people are homeschooled. Like we have lots of friends, like we homeschool our kids, and but it's just a different experience if you guys are like running down the road and playing music, and just the necessity of being all over.
Well, anyway, now that we got that out of the way, welcome to the podcast, Jeremy.
What a wild, long introduction to get us into
yes,
here.
exactly. Welcome to the Acoustic Shoppe Knows People. You are definitely one of the people we know.
You're one of our most recently known people.
Yeah, but it's been really fun. I mean, just the amount that we've like, because normally the way these things work is I fly out and I do something and we hang out, and then we just kind of go separate ways. But we've kept up really well, and I think we just I find you guys hilarious and and super knowledgeable. Like I'll text John. Okay, what does this Eastman model number mean?
He doesn't understand that I make stuff up.
Or no, while
On the fly.
while he's texting you back, he's actually just copying it from Google. Oh,
That's good.
Let me tell you off the top of my head, it says here. No, it has been a good relationship. Like one of the reasons we do the media and also open the stores, just because we're enthusiastic about acoustic instruments. We grew up in it. When the opportunity came to open a store, it was just about, hey, we love this stuff. So we follow other people online, and that's the great thing about the internet is you can find other like-minded people that are obsessed with acoustic instruments. And
Absolutely.
That's how we stumbled across your channel and hooked up, and you came out here, and it was a lot of fun. We went out after the filming and had dinner and talked about. That's the funny thing is even off camera, it was still about instruments and how we got involved in music, and it's just part of our lives. And yours as well.
I mean, that's what and you guys know too, like when you do social media a lot, like you share the depth of who you are in one avenue of your life. So for me, like there are plenty of other things that I don't talk about on social media and stuff, but it is like guitar is very central to my identity, my life, how I came to be who I am. I've been playing guitar for 20 couple years now. And yeah,
It must be a Virginia thing, by the way. 20 couple. I've not. That's
you not heard 20 couple?
no. That one lines up very well with. Can you please cut your lights on?
Yeah,
I never understood that one either. But go for it.
Okay.
Well, anyway,
That's
that
funny.
brings up a good question. Tell us about the start of guitar in your world.
Let's go back 20 couple years.
You kind of know 20 couple years. How did you start playing guitar?
Yeah. Okay. So I was 12 or so. And so my oldest brother, I'm like you guys, and we've talked about this too. Like I have 3 brothers, Jason, Jonathan, Jeremy, and Justin are the 4 of us. And so we have,
So
there's a
weird.
lot of similarities.
That's why he chased us down. That's really
It's true.
strange, guys. We're like
We
a
don't have to learn any
secondary-
new names.
We're like family.
It's easy. Yeah. But yeah, so my oldest brother, the older 3 of us were really competitive, and I was never as good at sports as my 2 older brothers. And so they were really good at tennis. That was their main sport, was tennis. And so I had my 9th grade coach would say like, Sheppard, as soon as we get more people to try out for the team, you are the first person I'm going to cut.
That's motivational speaking right there.
Yeah.
That
So,
guy got it
That's
down.
what I told Jason about the band for years.
Yeah, exactly. That's up there with
Mom and
rub
Dad
some
have
dirt on
another
it.
kid.
Rub some dirt on it. Walk it off.
Yeah. So my brother got a guitar for his birthday, and I saw he just didn't take to it, and I picked it up and played it just, here and there. And within a couple weeks, it just made sense to me. And so it just became my thing. So I started playing guitar at like 12 or so. And then about a year later, I was good at wrestling, and I went for just an annual physical, and they found that I have a heart condition, and it ended up meaning that I couldn't be in any sports or competitive things, couldn't do gym class anymore. So it was a super intense time. Yeah, right at 14. And so all of a sudden, just all of that energy and effort that was going into like sports and being, active and all that stuff went into playing guitar. And so I immediately, within maybe 6 months after that, we all really loved Blink-182. Like I was a middle schooler in like the early 2000s or late 90s. And it just worked out that I just like jumped in and made a pop punk band called Relish 232.
Where's the 232 coming? I mean, I get hot dog relish. I'm with
Yeah. 232 was the locker that we all shared when we'd put our guitars in a locker.
you. Nice. I love that.
And you guys are like, this is going to make such a great Rolling Stone story when they ask us about
Yeah.
our origin.
No, it was lamer than that. We talked about what our behind the music would be like.
Which one of you is going to be drug addicted?
Yeah.
Overcome addiction.
The Acoustic Shoppe Knows People is brought to you by the fine folks at The Acoustic Shoppe.
Fine people over there.
Have you guys ever heard of a mandolin? If so, you should already be in the car driving to the Acoustic Shoppe. If not, you should be on the World Wide Web searching up theacousticshoppe.com. If the answer is no, then you should go listen to a mandolin, then get back to step 1 and continue through the rest of the steps. As always, please drive safely.
What was your first
Segue.
guitar, by the way?
My first guitar was a classic. No, it was a global. It was a global classical. It was like a 3/4 steel string. It was very much like a kid, like a toy guitar. And then my first real guitar was an Alvarez RD8.
I sold a lot of those guitars when I was younger person.
Yeah, I like
the
this. And now,
official kit guitar because it came with a hard shell case.
yeah, hard shell case for like under $189 or something.
That with inflation now, that I believe that's $799.
Or 1 dozen eggs.
1 dozen eggs.
But you probably attest to that a little bit in that transition from that kid starter, I wouldn't say junker guitar, but definitely not a high quality one. There's kind of a built-in reward system for all the effort you put into it. Like if you stick with it and are really practicing on one of those entry-level guitars and you realize how much you love it, when you buy that next level guitar or it's bought for you by your parents, there's like this reinvigoration. Like all of a sudden, man, I got to practice 10 hours
Seriously.
now, and I can't put it down. You just get obsessed with it, and then again
Seriously.
that starts to plateau, and then you go up to that next level, and it keeps re-energizing the interest in practicing.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like you get so much payoff for the skills you've already worked on, and like the thing you stumbled through with really high action, all of a sudden you get to hear it cleanly. Like I remember I was really into the Red Hot Chili Peppers, so a lot of those riffs, like Scar Tissue and Other Side, like those are the songs I was learning when I was 12 and 13, and hearing them on a guitar that sounded good, like just lit my soul on fire for playing guitar more.
So, mine was kind of the opposite end of that. I started with Dad's D28. He had a 74 D28.
Okay.
And that was his guitar. But see, my problem was I wasn't supposed to be playing guitar. So I was actually supposed to be I was taking lessons, fiddle lessons.
You got that
violin
reward system
lessons.
with your fiddle upgrades.
Yeah, well, I
Right.
sort of do to a degree. But then I'll tell you where my I started with a great guitar, but where my reward system was when I got to where I could afford my own personal ones. And I remember the first guitar that I paid for with my own money. And it was nowhere near as good a quality guitar as that, but it still was like this reinvigoration of, hey, I did this. This is mine.
Seriously.
And to think, like you were just saying, we kind of get rewarded for all those skills we've learned. If it was karate, they just like change the color of your belt.
What a lame upgrade.
All that work, and you just get a different color belt.
No, you get a black strat. You go from an orange to a black strat. And on this same line, I've never bought a bass.
You got a couple
I
electrics
guess I've
along the
never been
way.
rewarded.
You had a
but
stand-up.
I never
stick
played
bass.
them. That was given to me.
That's even better, isn't it?
Way to brag right there. Hey, I'm so good, they just give me stuff.
Flex. No. Anyway,
Upright basses maybe don't have quite. Although I guess I shouldn't say that. You're a little unique because I know a lot of upright bass players that have like 20 basses, which has to take up a whole living room of your house.
yeah. Well, that's the thing about that bass is there's honestly never been a bass that I want to play more. There's been some sounds that I'd like to have out of a different bass, but I still haven't found that bass.
You
either.
just kind of lucked into a great one.
Yeah, that's my thing. That's what I kind of think. Same along the lines of John. We were lucky to start out with some incredible instruments. Dad was very committed.
I know I upgraded quite a few times along the way. I started with a pretty inexpensive Kentucky
Did you? Oh, yeah, you did. I remember
and
this.
then went to a flat iron and then the Ramsey and then the Bush. So it was definitely a progression, which every time you do that, it was just kind of like, yes, I've kind of made it to this next level and I'm going to practice even more now. And you get excited about it.
By the way, Jeremy paid for 0 of those instruments.
That's true.
That is true. I have bought a few since we opened a music store. I didn't pay for any of them, guys. Don't check my account. I'll buy this one.
So that was your first 2 guitars. it kind of it went from there. After you got your guitars, you started playing. You got your band rocking.
Yeah.
What's the next evolvement?
How did the
here?
guitar hunting begin? With the love for
That's
hunting?
so we'd have to skip ahead. So I always like was buying and flipping stuff, and so I guess guitar flipping. I just graduated from high school. I had a couple bands. I owned a booking company, so I used to book bands to come to my hometown, and so I love guitars. I was in the guitar world a lot, and the guy like. The main guy at my local guitar shop was leaving to open his own guitar shop, and so he recommended that I get a job working at a local guitar shop. And it's still like I think that changed my life more than anything. And so I got hired to work at this guitar shop called the Guitar and Amp Center, which was it was a guy who had started it in the 70s. His dad had been in the music business, but Warren, who owned the shop, he taught me how to negotiate with people, how to buy stuff, how to buy and flip. And then the biggest thing was how to know what things are worth. And so, I mean, every day now I still am running through lessons that he taught me. And while I was working for him is when I started finding deals on the side, we used to have like a penny saver kind of magazine that I'd find stuff and I'd track people down and buy guitars in cash. And so that's how I paid for college. My first one of the first guitars I found to flip is a wild story. I found a 61 Gibson Les Paul. So at this point, it no longer looked like a Les Paul. It looked like an SG. This one was white, had gold hardware, a sideways vibrato, and 3 pickups, 3 PAFs. The guy was asking $11,000 for it. And I was like, that's a $25,000 guitar. I know. And so I went to my dad and I was like, Dad, I had $5,000 that I was supposed to use to pay for college my freshman year of college. I was like, Dad, can I use that $5,000 and borrow $6,000 more from you, and I will buy this guitar and I know I can make money? And he was like, absolutely not.
Of course.
He's like, you're going to college, you're doing this. And I just kept hounding him. I was like, I promise you, like, this will make money. And I didn't want to tell anyone about it because I knew somebody else in the area would find it. Mm-hmm. And so probably 2 months of me just like hounding my dad to help me do it. He was like, all right, if this doesn't go right, I'm going to charge you interest and like principal and considerable interest. Like,
as he should.
Yeah, so he finally gave me $11,000 in cash as a 19-year-old. And I went down to the town where the guitar was being sold. I checked it out. I made sure everything was right. I bought the guitar. 2 weeks later, I went to the Philadelphia Guitar Show and I sold it to the Mandolin Brothers for $27,500.
Wow.
Good deal.
So that's how I paid for most of college.
I wonder how that guitar sat so long while you were able to get the funds together that somebody else didn't swoop in there. And
It was in a pawn shop, and it was just like, everything else is $200 and $300 guitars and some old American Strats. Like, it was nothing like that.
Well, there's always those
that could
stories
cause an
out there.
addiction right there.
Yeah, exactly. And those are those stories out there that you really thrive on. I think that's what you've built your we could say brand on, but
Yeah.
that's what you do. I mean, the stories of those guitars that are hidden out there. We used to get those stories as younger kids. You always hear about the Lloyd Lures and the the pre-wars and the Granada banjos.
Just been sitting under somebody's bed. And,
some old lady brings about, hey, would you look at my banjo?
I mean, even some of the actual origin stories of Monroe with his mandolin and Tony Rice.
Barbershop.
Tony Rice getting
The
his
pawn
guitar,
shop.
Wyatt getting the guitar out of a pawn shop sitting in a window. Those those things happen.
Clarence Wyatt.
Clarence, yeah. So yeah, it's interesting how many of the actual heroes that we were all trying to find their instruments found theirs in a similar off the wall, not buying directly from the manufacturer or music store.
Well, even personally, my bass story, I mean, that's the same idea. That's like my ultimate bass, and it was bought out of the local Denver newspaper from a symphony orchestra player that was down on his luck and going on strike, and we got this bass that's worth well over what we paid for it. I think Mom paid $300 for it. Came with a bow that she said, I don't need a bow, I play bluegrass, which probably was worth another
$500-$600, yeah.
But the same idea. I mean, you never know where you're going to find that guitar or instrument.
Sure.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's very hard to build. Like, I tried to build my YouTube channel on that, and those kinds of stories are so impossibly hard to find.
Sure.
So like I've done every one I've found, and I've had 6 or 7, I think, total.
There's a reason they're so exciting. This is because it's pretty rare to happen.
Well, I think they're getting more and more rare these days too. I think people are starting to get more with the internet, especially. I think is making a huge difference that it gets it out there.
That's a good subject to kind of get into. Is how do you think the instrument market has changed? Because I know us as we opened our music store in 2013. That was our first year of doing this, and that was. Those who haven't followed the story, that was a fluke accident situation as well. I won't get into that, but watching the industry change, not just in used instruments, but the marketplace in general has been pretty wild. In fact, even in the last 2 to 3 years has dramatically changed how this industry has gone. Finding instruments, the demand for those instruments. I mean, what have you seen? We see it on the retail end. What do you see? And I know we'll get into this as well. You've recently started to get into the retail end as well. And kind of tell us what you think you see.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, it's really changed over the last, because I think of like my heyday of when I was like making the most money and finding the craziest deals was right before Reverb. So like 2005 to 2012, I cleaned up because I was old enough that I had enough money that I could save some money and have a couple grand on hand. If I found something, I could jump in a car and go get it. What I have found is almost everybody knows more about what guitars they have. And even if they just find an old guitar in their attic, they're able to find more information pretty quickly.
Sure.
I think the really negative flip side of that is that so many things get misrepresented. Like this morning, somebody sent me, like a local to me, a 1943 an LG just showed up. And I didn't know if it was an LG 2 or 3, or sorry, a 1 or a 2. And so this guy, like immediately, he just had a bunch of stuff that isn't accurate, but he definitely had Googled it. And he's like, well, this is a Gibson LG, and this is what Nathaniel Rateliff plays. And it's, it's just... there's so much information out there that unless you know how to track down what year it was and if it's a factory order number, what the logo is and what modifications have been done to it. I think one of the hardest things too is there's more knowledge now about what these guitars are, but there's much less experience. And so it's really hard to me when somebody actually gets an older guitar in their hands and they realize like, oh, this is like tricky and hard to play, and the fret ends are sticking out, and it's just an old guitar. So that's where just fewer people have more access to them. But it's changed a ton over the last 20 years.
Yeah, I think we've seen. I know what you're talking about. The information that is accessible to the average person dramatically has gone up. But as that information without verification has been some of the most disastrous things we've had. A lot of people that have come in with instruments that they, see.
It's the Antiques Roadshow effect.
It is.
It's everybody's got a Stradivarius in their house.
Yeah, and it's so funny to watch because, it's not really funny. I'm not making fun of it at all. It's more of a situation where people get this, deal, and listings have changed a whole lot. Like you see so many listings for instruments. Man, I saw there's 7 of these online right now for $18,000. Well, let me take a look into here of actually what sold because it's so accessible and you can find these prices. It's also changed that marketplace. I remember I watched a documentary not too long ago on the Beanie Baby craze and what happened with that, where they were literally, driving their own marketplace and values by way of the internet. This was literally what they in this documentary they were kind of going off about how AOL was just getting started, and really what drove AOL was this Beanie Baby craze of here's a couple websites and this one sold for this, and then now mine's worth this, and and it's like this crazy automatic
Ponzi scheme almost.
Yeah,
and that's not exclusive to obviously us or Beanie Babies. That's the problem we're having with news being trafficked.
Well, I was going to say that too.
Good job.
We're basically describing the stock market, but also I was going to state that I watched a Beanie Baby documentary. Is also a weird flex.
Thank you very much. This is how I spend my
So
days.
I watched the documentary last week
Yeah.
about the Beanie Babies. But
Here's a factoid. Beanie Babies were my first hustle.
Really?
Like the first thing I figured out how to buy low and sell high. My mom knew some lady. So my mom was a seamstress. So she knew somebody that owned a fabric store, and they would get orders of Beanie Babies that were expensive, or like they would get them cheap, sell them at whatever the tag said on the Beanie Babies, and then I would sell them to my bus driver and the lunch ladies at my school.
you're always a hustler. There you go.
I don't know. Yep.
That is the fun. It can be addicting, finding something that there's intrinsic value that's not being represented when you could purchase for this price. And also there's some risk involved because there's a bit of a thrill of, if I get this wrong, there's some risk in there. There's reward if you made the right decision, but sometimes you can make a bad call. And we've done that on a couple used purchases where we find out more details after the fact. And it's like, well, that value just dropped down quite a bit from what I expected.
It is interesting though, because we're describing a lot of things that are happening right now. There's a lot of analogies. The stock market. I watched the thing about the GameStop saga. It's the same idea as that. It's the technology and how it's changing markets, and it really is making a huge difference in all these places. The stock market and politics, obviously, and our social interactions, but sales, retail changes by all these things. So it's kind of interesting to see how all these threads are the same, and basically we're saying Facebook and YouTube are the devil.
There's really just no filter. There's no.
Let's shut down all of the internets. That's what we really need to do.
The same thing goes with lessons too. They'll have a student come in and say, "Well, I just watched this video on YouTube, and you're actually supposed to do it this way." It's like, the guy you're watching not really the most qualified at giving that mandolin lesson or whatever it happens to be.
Hey, by the way, you were talking about one of Jeremy Sheppard's mandolin instruction videos, right?
Yeah, that's why that channel's not doing as well.
Yeah, no, I'm a poser for sure. I'm very much a guitar player that pretends to play mandolin.
And then he started a mandolin instruction site. No,
Yeah,
it's not true.
Not true.
So let's get into COVID. What happened with you during
Yeah,
COVID?
what a time to launch a new social media business.
it really changed. Okay, so I started my YouTube channel in 2017. I made one video, one off. I was buying an OM28 in like on the Gulf Coast in Mississippi. And I was like, no one's made a video about how to buy old guitars. Like, I'm just going to make a video talking about how I bought this guitar. And then I forgot about it for 6 months. I came back, it had like 12 or 14,000 views. I was like, wow, okay, well, I'll do more of these. So I started my YouTube channel. I was growing it. I was buying and selling stuff on the side. I was in a sales job. I had a marketing agency. I had other stuff I was doing. But then it worked out that I was like, I'm going to go full time. Like, I've got enough momentum. I think I had 10 or 12,000 subscribers. And I was like, I'm going to go full time. I'm going to push hard and see what I can do and grow this channel. I'm going to go to every guitar shop, every guitar show. And that was in February of 2020. I left my full-time job. And within a few weeks, COVID came knocking. And I was headed to the Asheville Guitar Show, and it got canceled. And I remember panicking, like, how am I going to make money? This was a terrible idea. And so I did. I got a part-time gig for about 6 months while I was able to then retool and change up how I was doing Guitar Hunter. So that's when I totally switched gears. I never planned on talking about new guitars on my channel. I never thought about doing anything with reviews or giving consumer advice. I guess I was doing consumer advice, but my channel originally was like how to buy and sell guitars as a side hustle. And that messaging did not go over well. Like, people just don't like guitar flippers.
You were the scourge of the guitar world.
Yeah, I guess. So COVID ended up, and it actually worked out really well. Like, I was starting to do some fun stuff. Like, I bought some guitars new. I could basically get artist pricing, buy guitars, make a video, and then kind of bank on the video making up to recoup the cost of buying the guitar. And so that worked with a couple, and then other brands started reaching out, like Fender. So I was part of the Fender American Pro 2 Strat launch, and then the American Jazzmaster the acoustic players.
While he's wearing his
Telecaster.
Fender T-shirt right now, by the way.
Oh, I am wearing a Fender shirt. Well, I now work for a Fender dealer, so now I'm getting this whole new exposure to
kinds
new
of free
guitars.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I guess the connection, because you were telling me when you were here that you had run a music store in the past, and now you
Yeah.
are back to running a music store. What?
There's even a video I watched on why his music store didn't work. If you
Yeah.
don't want part of the channel.
I didn't. I'll be honest. I didn't watch that video.
That's okay. Yeah, so that was
give me
my
the
shop. I had
lowdown.
a shop just outside New Orleans that I ran for 2 years, and it was fine. Like I came out, I made a little bit of money, but it never really took off. And I didn't sell anything new other than like strings and accessories. So it was just stressful that in that business model, every time I'd sell a guitar, I would have like 4 minutes of joy. And then I'd be like, oh my gosh, I have to find something now to fill that hook. So fast forwarding, I've been running through COVID. I knew that I wanted to start doing something more planted because I have a wife and kids, and Guitar Hunter has been incredibly fun. And it's also just it's inconsistent income. So that's where I was like, okay, if I can find something that's more planted in the guitar world. Around the same time, a friend of mine, Chris Jackson, who he and I went to high school together, around the time that I started working at a guitar shop here in town, he moved to Nashville and worked in a studio and was learning how to make high-end studio microphones. So fast forward, he had moved back a few years before me back to Virginia, started a studio. That studio has grown. They opened a record pressing plant. And then he found out that they were going to be buying a small guitar shop here in Harrisonburg called Hometown Music. And so he reached out to me last summer, actually right around the time I was flying out to hang out with you guys. I was starting to have these conversations with him where he said, hey, what would it take for you to work for me 4 days a week? You could still do Guitar Hunter, but I want you to help me just grow the guitar store, take it over, and then begin to open up the other things we're trying to do. So the space that we're in now it's a guitar shop. We're opening a coffee shop. It's an old grocery store. So we have 26,000 square feet. So
The size of our shop.
Yeah, easily.
it's gigantic. So we're opening a coffee shop. We've got a guitar shop in there. There's a record pressing plant. And then in the back, we're building out a studio right now, rehearsal spaces. We're going to do lesson rooms. And then we're also building out a music venue. So it's going to be the best run of people supporting local music around here that any of us have seen in our lifetime. And all of us have that similar kind of feeling of, we've developed this skill set. We've gone out and traveled and kind of cultivated what we're doing. And then we come back to, it's really similar to Springfield. Like you come to kind of a place where you're like, well, there's a good bed of coals of musicians that care about this stuff. And we could both bring cool guitars from the world to here for people around here, but we could also focus on the musicians around here and help them get out into the world at large. Cool. So I've been there since January, and it's been just a crash course in new guitar retail.
So what he was really doing was when he came out here, he was writing
He's
notes
stealing
on
all your
all the
secrets.
things that he shouldn't be doing.
All your secrets.
So let's take this 1,200 square foot and project it up into a 12,000.
So that's I've been following along on your channel with that stuff, and it seems like not only a huge undertaking, but a fun project.
It is. And it brings back like some of my favorite like vocational stuff in my life was when I was a regional sales manager I sold high-tech gadgets in oil and gas. And so like the business development side of it, like sales and marketing and getting out there and meeting with people, like that stuff I've missed because in Guitar Hunter, it's mostly me sitting in a room talking to a camera like it's a person. Mm-hmm. And I'm not getting out and doing the larger kind of sales stuff. So it's been fun to take a little step back from being in front of a camera all the time.
I bet.
So now you're going into music retail. What does this mean for the Guitar Hunter? What is the channel going to be now?
Yeah, so I want to condense, and I've been able to do this to condense down what Guitar Hunter's doing. So last
I like
year.
that he's speaking of it as a third person, by the way.
All right, Mr. Trump.
Is it? Well, hang on. I'm
just
not
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Sorry. I've tried to separate like Guitar
is
Hunter
a business.
Yes, I
is
got
like
you.
a business.
channel.
I'm with you. I'm just teasing. It was
So
not.
so Jeremy the Guitar Hunter will be. So I have one day off. I have one day off a week right now. It's Thursdays are my day to do all of my Guitar Hunter stuff. Well, I guess that's not true because I also do my live show on Friday afternoons. But overall, Guitar Hunter, I've been able to say no to opportunities that last year I probably would have taken. So opportunities where it's, hey, we're going to launch this guitar. And then I realize it's totally outside of what I would talk about or what I would ever buy or play. But because they were offering me money, I'd be like, okay, I'll do it. So the first thing that's been really satisfying is to say no to a lot of opportunities because it just shows that I'm in a different phase of being an influencer, whatever that means. Because at first you're like, Guitar Shop, can I borrow this guitar so that I can make a video on it? And I'll make sure the guitar is exactly the way it was when I borrowed it from you. And then later the brand is like, well, we can give you a guitar, but we can't pay you. And then later they get to like, they can pay you and they can give you a guitar. So now I get to not have to say yes to everything. And then it's also worked out that I'm able to reload my cash savings so that when I find wild, ridiculous stuff, I can now jump on it again. So that's where it will be fewer videos. I'm still putting out 1 or 2 videos a week. But it's dialing back to where the production value and most of the other things are better quality. The big thing is I have lots of collaborations coming up this year is the main push. So we've got some stuff scheduled with Bourgeois. We've got some stuff scheduled with Boucher. We just scheduled something else. I'm doing some stuff with Ovation, which will be fun. So yeah, trying all kinds of stuff, trying to just like do more, kind of what we did, like higher level collaborations with other creators and channels.
Yeah, that's been a whole bunch of fun. We had a blast. I think you were one of our first major channels to kind of do more of that stuff with, and it was a fun experience, and it's only kind of opened up even more because we now understand, I think this is the best part about this industry, and, you've seen this as well quite often, is these guys that are doing this for a living, they also have to recognize that this is a community too, and that we have to kind of, recognize everybody's strengths as a team play. And we really do seem to get connected pretty easy. I mean, in the end, especially this style of, social media platform performers, it really becomes, we're all about the same thing. We're about music. We're about instruments. And, even though all of us should and is right to take a different slant at all of those, there's still the overall community that has to kind of work off of each other.
It's still a small community. That's what we always remember.
It really is.
There's huge influencers out there, but there's really not that competitive edge that I've found so far. I feel like we're all.
I think we need to maybe introduce. I've been watching some other industries where you need at least 1 or 2 feuds between top.
Well, yeah,
we need a beef.
We've talked about that. We've got.
Can
beef
we start
coming.
one? Can we start a beef today?
I'd like
Only
to eat
one
some
of us
beef.
can use the name Jeremy.
Oh,
Which one's it going to be?
There can only be one.
Fathead. I just started it.
He just did.
That was the first shot fired.
Anyway. No, but I feel like it is a small community, so we are going toward the same goal.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be a little spicy. I mean, there are some brands and some other creators that I've interacted with that I realized, any success I would have, they are perceiving as competition or failure on their own part. And so there are I've had some like bigger YouTubers that are quite combative to any smaller creators. And I'm thoroughly middle of the road.
We're so low on the totem pole, we don't even count. So,
but yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, I'm like, there's always space. That's where it's like all of us have different perspectives and different backgrounds.
Well, sure. I didn't know when you were down here. We have kind of different lanes that we're in the content creation. Us being a music retailer, we have almost different dual goals. One is just talking about things we really love. But also, it's building a trust with customers so they know that we understand the industry, we understand the instruments, we are looking for the best stuff possible. Where you almost have another lane where you're almost trusted a little bit further. There's a trust factor with us where they're like, oh, this is just a store trying to sell me stuff. Where you being kind of an independent guy that just is passionate about instruments kind of maybe gets easier barrier to break when you're just saying, "Hey, I'm just an enthusiast that loves it." Do you think you're going to run into any pushback now that you also are in that retail space, whereas now he's trying to sell stuff?
Well, I feel that already. So the big one is each year I do my gear of the year, my last live show of the year, and I kind of rate like what I think is the best new thing and the worst new thing. And my worst new thing this year was the Ibanez. It's that acoustic electric from the guy from Polyphia, and it to me it just sounds terrible. I don't like it. So I made this video. And then the next Monday morning, I have a call with the Hoshino rep, and he's like, "What the hell, man?" Like, I was like, "That guitar sucks, and you know it." Like, to me, I just had to like joke and like stick to it. But I'm starting to feel that different, and that's why we're separating. We're gonna be growing like a hometown music social media following, but I'm not gonna bring my whole audience into that. I mean, and I'm still very much gonna continue my own. Like I get picked on when I'm in the shirt and I wear a Martin shirt, and I go there and they're like, "Oh, we don't sell Martin. Why would you wear the competitor?" I was like, "Well, we don't sell anything that competes." So I mean, there is pressure on that stuff.
Sure. Well, we also feel that pressure. I mean, we've always been out to make sure we're being objective, and there are a few reviews. We try not to. I mean, we got to walk that fine line, like you said, with the reps. But we try not to slam products. But honestly, we have to give our honest opinions, or else we have no opinion.
We had that happen a bunch this year when we went to the NAMM show. Our main goal was this year, this last year, was NAMM show was interesting because a lot of people weren't coming that were main creators and vendors, manufacturers, because they're like, oh, the dealers aren't coming this year and blah, 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 blah. And our goal coming in there was, hey, let's take this on as a whole new opportunity. Let's take on brands that we don't carry. We love them. And I think that had to be said is the community relies on channels like ours and yours to kind of go, hey, tell me something, because I don't know that I'm getting all the stuff from, obviously a manufacturer puts out their own content. Everything is 100% to them, and they should. If they're not putting it out and claiming it to be 100%, then they shouldn't be putting it out in the first place. But that said, that doesn't mean that that's the overall appeal. So, like when we went to NAMM this year, we did our Martin Booth run-through tour, and we did a Taylor run-through and stuff. Now, everybody who follows our channels know that we don't carry those brands, but it was a mission to make sure that they understood, hey, I still appreciate this stuff. I still recognize what it is.
Disingenuous not to do it, because when we are at NAMM, we go to those booths because it's Martin and Taylor. How could you be an acoustic enthusiast and not want to go play the new instrument?
It goes down to that trust factor, I think, when we need to make sure we're being open and objective and honest about everything we do.
Sure. Yeah, it's a tough world because there are so many different great brands. And I will say that has been a mission, again, driven through these guys here, is to talk about these other ones. When we get a Collings guitar in, we do a review on it and talk about it. Even, that we know
fans.
that, well, it's not going to make us any extra money.
A lot of times they've already sold.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, before we ship you this guitar, can we do a review? Because we don't get enough of them in here and we're fans of them. So let's talk about it. I think it's part of the reason we do this is because we actually do enjoy it. I think if we were doing it for ulterior motives and it was just about money, we probably would have picked a different industry, and then we could be disingenuous and just say, oh, we got the best widget out there. But the reason that people get involved in music is because they're passionate about it. It's not the most lucrative industry to be in, so why lie about your personal opinions on it?
Guitars are cool.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like our messaging at Hometown is that we want people to become the best versions of themselves by creating music. And so like we're just trying to help them discover music and creativity. And so, it's always funny to me. One quick thought on that last bit. It's always funny to me that like I now see when people come into guitar shops, they will play dumb or they will assume that people at the shop don't know about their competitors or whatever. I always love when people are like, yeah, tell me about this guitar. And then you tell them about it. And then afterwards they're like snapping a picture of in the sound hole. And then they're very clearly on Sweetwater or Reverb. Not knowing that we know,
Yeah, Well, and again, that's something, we talked about. I know this is another switch of gears here, but we talked about how the industry has changed. I think that has been both a great thing and a bad thing. Some people really took it on as a bad thing. The internet in sales has really bloomed over this, especially over COVID. We keep bringing that up. I mean, almost every podcast lately. I don't think even in just our industry, everybody's going to talk about COVID.
Pushed more people towards the internet? Is that what you're saying?
I think it did. Anyway, we now have a whole world. I remember going to seminars 3-4 years ago where everybody's like, man, everybody's coming in my shop and they're price shopping and they're hiding their phone. And just like you said, they do. And it got to the point where it's like, a lot of people were getting really angry about it. And, remember that? We were in quite a few seminars in NAM, and all these business owners that had been running stores for 30, 40, 50, 60 years were really getting mad about this idea that, people could find the information. And, we kind of sitting here like, what are you going to do about it? There's nothing you're going to do about that. It's now just time to embrace it. Recognize, hey,
what you're offering.
Yeah, be competitive in in other areas.
Figure out what it is that you do that those guys aren't going to be able to do, and try to offer back. But the fact is we have more information at our fingertips than ever before. We have a generation of buyers that is different than ever before. We've got all these millennials and
I can't stand those
Gen Zers, and even I'm on the edge of that. I don't know what generation I am, a Z, Y, Q.
I think you're
whatever. I don't know what I am.
Boomer.
A boomer.
He's boomer.
But we use our phones now. We recognize that there are other. I can't just go off of what a salesman tells me anymore, and I honestly think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think one of the things that our most small communities have lost as small guitar shops have closed down, most small towns don't have that guy that knows all about guitars that can help you understand, what specky thing you need, or, like all those little questions along the way. And that's the thing that, we hope to be, and I'm realizing how many guys, because I worked at a shop that closed down and it felt like our city was losing a really important thing when I closed down the home or guitar and amp center that I used to work for. And now it's fun to see how many people are still around from that season, and how in the last 10 years that I've been gone, that there are so many people that stepped into the role of that shop. So there are lots of people that are doing great setups, and they can, somebody owns all the stuff to do a fret level and polish, and, you have some support in the guitar culture.
It's a lot of fun. It's a community, and I think if all of us find a way to be a part of it in your day-to-day life and doing something you love, obviously, I'm going to coin a phrase, do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Ooh, I like that.
Man, that's like,
Can somebody
gee,
write
come
that
up with
down?
that?
Yes,
I've never
heard
put that in a sign in my
Trademarked
bathroom.
and Reserved.
Yeah, in my bathroom. I can look at it while I pee.
Something you love.
Well, it's been awesome talking to you, Jeremy. I know we got to get you going. You've got
Yeah,
things to do.
I've
You
got my live show here in a
hunting to
minute.
do. But I think we've learned a few things today.
Yes, we have.
More than one of us have a fat head.
Oh.
COVID's changed everything, and the internet's here to stay.
These are great things. Good luck working on
Heard it
that
here
music
first.
business. If you need any help, don't call me.
We're competitive now.
We'll just send you the links that John's using to search for the information.
No, listen, all jokes aside, like there was a guitar brand that we wanted. I can say them. We wanted to carry Eastman, but everything from the outside says they're not taking on any new dealers.
True.
And then John made a call, and we've got. I think they'll be here tomorrow or today or Monday.
Awesome.
We got our first order.
That is something we've always felt like we're open to competition. We had Eastman contact us about something right down the road from us. Not literally down the road, but in our region that normally other stores would have said, no, we can't have competition. It makes us do better if we know other people are also selling that product. We've got to make sure it keeps us competitive and striving to be better. So we're not going to deny anybody access.
And to take this full circle, we're all on the internet, so we're all competing. So there's really no
You might as well be down
local
the road.
boundaries anymore. So we just got to compete.
No,
as we
genuinely,
can.
this has been great. A relationship with Jeremy has been a whole bunch of fun.
Thanks, guys. I like you too.
Not this Jeremy. I don't
that's a
like
terrible
this guy at
relationship.
all. But it has been fun, and I get these funny text messages every once in a while, and sometimes I'll answer them, and other times I won't.
Do I text you too much?
No, not
that's
at
just
all.
John on any
No,
messaging.
not at all. You got to realize
It's a lot of gifts.
No, I am the worst messaging if you,
Responding
in
to
fact,
people.
now that you're dealing with Eastman, make sure to ask them if John ever answers his emails, because they've all come to a realization that if they want something out of me, they don't bother to email me anymore.
That's that boomer generation again.
Boomer.
All right.
But anyway,
let's wrap
Jeremy,
this up.
we're gonna see you soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
If not, we'll see you on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know where to find you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll come to you. You come to me. Let's hang out.
All right.
We'll
Sounds
meet in
good,
the
buddy.
middle.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun.
It was fun.
We'll
Appreciate
see
it.
ya.
Well, that was a whole bunch of fun. It's so cool to talk to other people, kind of taking their guitar journey and doing it in a public forum, kind of similar to what we've always done. Obviously, from two different directions. And interesting that he ends up in a music retail space, which was probably, well, I guess it kind of was his original calling. Ours was a little bit
We're
different,
almost
but
doing a converging thing because we're starting to do a lot more of that traveling to guitar builders and other stores and doing.
So we're
kinda
going the opposite
We're going
way.
the opposite way. We're still doing retail, but we came in a different direction.
There is an interesting bunch of analogies that I found with Jeremy. I spent a lot
I've
of
had
time
bad
talking with
allergies
him.
this year.
Yeah, it's been real rough. But anyway, there's a lot of similarities, as you would say. You gonna play with that one too? No. Similarities. Jeremy grew up in a big family with all J's, which is interesting.
Not all J's, but a Jason, and Jonathan.
John
Yeah, I
and
know.
a Jeremy. And
But we sat and talked a lot about family and things and instruments and all that stuff. But also, it was right after the time Mom passed away from cancer, and he was having the same in his family. There was a member of, so there's some weird, interesting connections that we've made there, and I think it's a pretty great friendship. I hope it continues. He's a great guy. And,
Can't wait to finish filling out his Wikipedia page.
Yes.
We got all kinds of new things we're going to be adding to that. Fathead, I
Exactly,
believe.
Fathead.
And Jimmy Neutron, was it?
Jimmy Neutron,
Jimmy
that was it.
Neutron, the fat head. Something like that.
That was a lot of fun. And look forward to seeing Jeremy again. I'm sure we'll run across him numerous different times. Hopefully get out to that shop and see kind of what they're building out there. It sounds like fun.
Yeah, could be a cool project.
Well, guys, podcasting,
Yeah.
Still up?
I think
Still
it's a
a thing?
thing.
I'm okay with it.
I think it's fallen off.
Okay.
At least this one. Anyway, we thank you for listening out there, folks. Thanks for following the Acoustic Shop, and we
Be sure
love
to
you.
share this podcast if you enjoyed it. That's going to help a lot to get it out there and to keep us doing it.
Yeah, and we love them.
And we love you for it.
We love you.
Thank you.
Aww.
Love you guys.
No,
Really?
you don't.
I went too far, didn't I?
You did.
I really feel bad
thought
that I
that was a
can't say it
moment.
back.
Oh, you're a good guy.
Good for you. Good for you. That's what I got.
Bless your heart.
Aw. All right. See you guys next time.
I'm going to see it like after this.
No.
The Acoustic Shop Knows People. Handmade by Trent Pruitt, Hinkley Hinkleston, and Jason Chapman for the Acoustic Shop.
Theme song written and performed by Ofer Koren.
And please remember to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.